I think part of the expectation when you're in an environment like that is that life is supposed to happen in a certain pathway. And for you and I, our life stories are anything but linear.
Hi, this is my dear friend, Maggie Weber. She's an Army major, a PhD, a cancer pre-survivor, a mom, a badass athlete, and a 2011 Pat Tillman Scholar.
This is my dear friend, Chris Diaz. He just came off being the Chief of Staff for the Secretary of the Navy, which is wild, by the way. But he's also a philosopher of sorts that has really worked to understand human performance as well as how the human brain works and to bring out maximum potential from people that he surrounds himself with. He is a 2013 Tillman Scholar. We must have met much earlier than we actually started kind of doing stuff together. So
Yeah,
I think we met at
2013.
2013
Sure.
at the summit probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the first real memory that I have working with you was that I was doing work with a friend with two very elite prep schools in New York City. And the intent was to do a program of the day for Veterans Day for these, these kids of actors and actresses, right? Like the elite of New York City. And so I thought of you to bring you along to have you there as one of the scholars that was going to present for this Veterans Day. And so can you talk about your experience with these students and like just what that was like? Because it was really fun to see you interacting with these kids.
Yeah, it was really meaningful for us because there's become, over time, a disconnect between the American public and the military, in particular at this level of affluence. I found it intriguing to go with you asking me because we both didn't ever even imagine ever getting to enter a school like that, right? Our education backgrounds were not that. We both enlisted into the military. So being able to bring this experience and to see these kids be really curious about what we did in our journeys was super meaningful.
Right, we have bounced around, we've done different things, and we've in many ways reinvented ourselves over time.
Another time that we got to spend deepening our relationship was actually in the beautiful mountains of Aspen. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, so 2019 we got to go to the Aspen Ideas Festival with the Pat Tillman Foundation. And for anyone that hasn't been to Aspen, it is just the most epic place. Mountain vistas, mountain views, and the maroon bells are kind of the hallmark of that area. And bluebird skies, it was just gorgeous. And so one of the days we went out to the maroon bells and decided to take a walk. And this actually, I'm going to start off telling a little bit of a story, and it's going to sound bad, but it's not.
Okay.
Because I have been inspired by you repeatedly. But in practical terms, we're really different. I'm a fast mover, I am high strung, I am from the East Coast, and I just I zoom, right? Your approach to life is very different than mine, I think, from observation. So we're in this setting, I love trail running, right? I run to get to a beautiful view. I am very bad at taking things slow and being in the moment. And so I'm behind you as we're going on this hike, and you are moving so freaking slow. And I'm like, what is happening? I want to run, I want to go. But it was in that moment that I was like, wait a minute. I need to learn from this because it was so obvious that every single step you took, you were grateful for, and that you were appreciating the flower that was next to your foot that you almost stepped on and avoiding it, and then soaking in that moment. And I was like, I really need to take that away as a lesson for myself to slow down sometimes, because the art of patience that you bring to the way you walk through the world has really inspired me to take moments to slow down and to actually appreciate where I am instead of trying to run to the next thing.
While you were annoyed, I was terrified because when you were like, hey, let's go to the woods, I knew you wanted to run, and I didn't want any part of having to go on a jog with an ultra marathoner. So I'm glad we both had that experience.
Yeah.
Something that we've touched on here this morning we got these really inspiring words from Johnny Kim from the International Space Station, right? And the thing that stood out to me was that Johnny talked about the importance of kindness and compassion and integrity. In our community, those values that matter so much that the world needs right now, it's important to understand that like that doesn't happen in, as you said, in a linear fashion. Tell me a little bit about failure, because I know you and I share this in common, our thinking and approach to understanding what it means to fail.
So I dropped out of college, and I did actually, I was on a very kind of linear path, right? Like my great-grandfather got his PhD from Columbia and started the School of Retail and Marketing at NYU. I come from a family where college was expected.
Wow.
And so I had a lot of mental health challenges, and I'm a recovering alcoholic with many years of recovery under my belt. But at that time that I was in college, I was a hot mess, right? And I left after my third year of school. And coming from the environment that I came from and the family expectations, whether they were real or perceived, right? That sense of failure, of not finishing something that I had started, carried for a long time. It carried with me. And it was, I refused to say that I had dropped out of college. I left college is what I would always say, right? So there was a lot of personal angst over the fact that I had dropped out. And coming into the foundation and getting the Pat Tillman Scholarship was really the first time that an external organization validated the person who I was and who they thought I would become. And that was why the Tillman Scholarship and the people that I've met, like yourself, have been really critical to my development and really owning the fact that dropping out of college probably was the best thing that could have happened to me, because it led me on this weird, random, rambling path that eventually got me here to this conversation with you. And so I think what it's taught me, and coming into these spaces, is that this failure doesn't take anything away from you. It's something that happens, and it's cliche to say, but what defines you is what comes after. But I think we lose sight of the fact that failing at something doesn't mean I'm a bad person or less of a person, or that my value has decreased in any way. But I know you have thoughts on this too, so jump off from that point if you want.
Yeah, it's I earned this scholarship when I was an undergrad in 2013, and then I quickly got into an accelerated BSMS program, and I was just not ready for academia. I wasn't ready for the rigors. I wasn't done processing my own experience in Afghanistan, and I'm being dropped in a room in academia studying psychology. And yet, unlike you, I didn't know what that pathway looked like, right? I'm a first generation American. My parents had not gone to college by that point. So this pursuit was completely foreign to me, right? And I was trying my best, right? And so as I was proceeding and I was gaining recognition for work that I was doing in the community, both in the veteran community, both in psychology, on this more progressive approach of looking at human performance, I noticed that my identity was becoming more fused with becoming a psychologist, becoming a doctor. And that all unraveled really quickly due to some mistakes that I made. And I found myself not completing this thing that I had been pursuing for a while. When I had to talk to some of my closest friends, many Tillman Scholars, to share this news that I would not be completing the PhD, as difficult as it was, I was at peace with it because I knew I had a community that would support me. Right? And what they saw as strength and vulnerability, I was wrecked, but I also knew that I made the right decision. And I knew that this would just be one of many failures that I get to go through in life, because I take the time to learn from those failures and grow. So for me, people ask me all the time, wow, you've done all these different things in your life and you've achieved this. To me, they say, how did it happen? I said, because I failed a lot. Because I failed a lot, and I took time to learn and try not to make those same mistakes and then grow from it.
I didn't think we were going to have this same identification of national security threats and what we need to focus on as a country in order to, sustain kind of America's future as a nation of influence in the world. And I think that's really cool.
Can you think back to like 2011 and before the scholarship? Like, how have you changed in that, now close to 15 years?
Yeah, it is a long time. It's a while. Yeah, so I think for me, I aggressively pursued education, and part, I think, if we want to psychoanalyze me, it was to make up for the fact that I had dropped out of college. But all that aside, I have found going into and accepting a job as a professor is a lot of responsibility, right? After I retire from the military. So I've thought a lot about that responsibility of like what it means to command a classroom and what I want to bring to the institution, the school, the community that I'll be entering.
What a privilege it is.
Yeah, and a huge privilege. And also very terrifying because you are seen as an authority figure, right? And so I think what I've found is that as I've grown for over those 15 years, is that the last thing that I want to become is part of what we call in the military the frozen middle, where it's like this, you tap out at a certain level where you have some power, not too much power, but like you are kind of the gatekeeper for some policy or innovation. And a lot of times people calcify in their worldview and calcify in their approach to solving problems, calcify in their vision of what the organization is supposed to be. And so being given the opportunity to take a teaching position is an opportunity for me to continue connecting to the youngest generation that's coming up and going to take positions in national security. I'll be teaching in Homeland Security, looking at cyber, but like giving myself this constant reminder and this kind of constant check on my assumptions about how the world works and like the right approach to, quote unquote, right approach to life and things. I think that is what I have learned, to not place myself at the center of whatever I am doing, but in order to always be open to and receptive to what I can learn from a situation.
Yeah.
And that I want to be seen as an expert and always learning new and always challenging my own assumptions and looking for ways that research can be improved and learning from the younger generations. I never want to be like kids these days, right?
I cannot imagine my life without the community that the foundation has provided.
Yeah.
I think to like some of my closest and deepest relationships, I think about how they have supported me. It's through relationships that we become, and this institution has been a vehicle for relationships, right?
Yes.
The reason why, 2011, 2013, I think that we keep coming back is because we know that next scholar that we're sitting across from is the one that is going to be the next relationship that's going to add value to the fabric of our life. Yeah. So just this morning, I was talking to a Navy SEAL who happens to serve with my best friend for boot camp. It's a Navy SEAL. And I got to talk to somebody who was at the pointy end of the spear from my role serving as the Chief of Staff to Secretary of the Navy. We were colleagues. We were shipmates removed. This institution, we never would have met in the Pentagon or in DOD, but we come here to Chicago, we meet, and now we have this connection. Yeah. So that's what the foundation continues to provide. And when you see the caliber of people and what they're doing in their life, it's impossible to feel anything but inspired.
Yeah, and you also have shown the value of relationships for generating action. So, I mean, you started a nonprofit in Philly with a group of scholars primarily, and that has really taken a role in serving gaps in community services for Philly. So just talk about that, because that's another way that you have leveraged the relationships that you've developed in the foundation, and at a local level convene scholars that are also concerned about your immediate community.
Sure, yeah. So, I live in the city of love, city of brotherly love, although you need to be there to understand it. And it was following a summit where I went on lunch with a scholar named Matt McClett that led me to say, hey, you know what? Like, I'm going to get together a bunch of friends, right? Over the years in Philly, we have a huge veteran community. I had benefited from relationships with each of these individuals and just thought that it'd be really powerful. We just shared a bite to eat on Veterans Day. And so we got together, and it was about 12 people showed up, and there was such an energy at the table. Someone said, we need to do this again. And I was like, guys, like this is way too much time and effort. All of us are incredibly busy, right? I mean, we're in school, we're in business, we're in law. But I'll throw another invite in on December and see who shows up. More people showed up in December than they did in November. More people than showed up in January. And all of a sudden, we had a thing. Yeah. And the idea was born from, we have these unique experiences as veterans, unique relationships and expertise, solving complex problems. We care about the community and continue to serve. What if we put that together and formed an organization that focused on what the community needed? We knew that the world did not need another think tank.
Right.
We then modeled ourselves as Action Tank. And then people liked the tank reference because of the military. What's remarkable about this institution that we've built, literally from Tillman Scholars getting together in the community, is that we're now celebrating our 9th year of existence. Yeah. Right? So I left that organization years ago. I turned over the executive director position. We're now into our 3rd executive director, another Navy veteran named Matt Conley. And they continue to grow and continue to do great work. So creating something lasting and meaningful in the community is a model that we believe is scalable and can be replicated.
Yeah, it's impressive. And it's fun to see that journey, and it's fun to see that while you've left, other scholars remain and continue to build that community and grow.
It's been remarkable to deepen our relationship over all these years. It's making me feel old talking about all these dates, right?
Well, 15 years, I'm like, oh.
But the through relationships we become thing is really what's powerful about it, because it's easy to think of that as like an insular process, but it's actually through relationships we all become. So in this conversation, that's become clearer to me, is that as I've gotten to do the things I've done, it is by, with, and through others. Yeah. We're part of that journey. We're part of each other's journey.
Very much so.
And I'm so grateful that we got to be able to connect like this.
I know. I continually think about, I'm going through a lot of life changes right now. Retiring, my daughter's 17. She's going to be off to college soon. So it's like, oh my gosh, what happens
17. Wow.
I know. Well, your son's older than that, but and so I think that it's just really special, the ability to convene in a place and be surrounded by people that have achieved so much and yet are constantly looking, like Johnny Kim was saying, for those relationships and how to increase their awareness of what possibilities exist out there. And so I think that is the fun thing that I always take away from Summit, is that I learn that there's another opportunity out there. There's other people doing incredible things that I hadn't even dreamed of.
And we're still growing.
I know, we're still growing. Yep, might be aging a little more here, but yes, and it's so good to have this conversation with you.
Me too, my friend.